Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King. And today I'm going to be giving you part 13 of What If Naruto Was the Same Age as Itachi. Remember to get this one to 200 likes as usual, share this to all of your friends on your social media platform. And also, go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto Had a New Dream that changed everything over on Anime King 2, guys. And also, remember, if you're new and this is the first time you hear my voice, and you enjoy the videos on both Anime King and Anime King 2, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and support. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. I'll be planning talking about all of you. So yeah, without further ado, what do you say begin this new episode? Start the intro. So, the last time we left off, as Naruto got pushed back by the almighty push, he then got surrounded by paper as he started to talk to Konan. He then flashed away before she could attack him though, as he made his way towards Pain. Pain tried his best to attack Naruto's almighty push, but Naruto was just too fast, as he kept on flashing in and out. He even come right in front of his face and said bye, as he flashed away with Fu. As Konan landed, as Pain looked towards where Naruto went off. We then had a time skip, as Fu was brought back to Konoha, as two members were coming to try and retrieve her, as it was none other than Itachi and Kisame, as they made their way into the village, where they came upon Naruto himself. Itachi was rather confused because there was no other Anbu members here or anyone else. As Naruto faced off against Kisame, Kisame got rather frustrated as he tried to attack Naruto with everything he got. But the blonde was just too damn fast, as he barely got a hit in on Naruto. As Naruto ended up capturing him, the water weight ended up smashing into Kisame as it broke his body down. As Itachi was already long gone. As he was leaving, he apologized to Kisame in his head and apologized to Naruto as well. We then had another time skip, as Team 7, well, not Team 7 anymore, as he was split up. As Sakura was out on a medical mission, so she was not there, as Hinata, Ami, and Sasuke made their way. When they came upon Kumo ninjas were joining into the fray, as they got attacked. Things went bad, as they weren't no match for the Kumo ninjas. All of them seemed to be Chunin level or higher, and there was a Jonin there as well. As the battle started, as Ami told them to run, as after hesitation they end up running. Hinata holding on to Sasuke and making their way out of there, as Sasuke got hit in the throat by the leader. Ami got sliced up pretty bad, but she ended up falling off the cliff. Ami was found by a hermit, a man, as she was confused who he was, as he had so many knowledge of so many things, despite saying that he didn't know much. As she told him about everything that was going on, and about her sensei Naruto, the man seemed to be surprised by that before he reined it in, as Ami knew that she had to leave. As she was leaving, somehow she forgot everything, as she forgot that she met the hermit or anything. She just remembered that she wake up on the shore, and she had to make her way back. The man then revealed his Sharingan, as it was time that he stopped hiding himself. He was going to help clean up this war that he got himself into. Naruto got the news, as he couldn't believe it. He refused to think Ami was dead, as he refused to think it, as he didn't want to drink any of the stake. People do that when they give up hope, but he refused to believe that she was actually dead. As Anko came in, as Anko had news, she was pregnant. Naruto couldn't believe it, as he was about to tell her about Ami, but hearing this now, he didn't tell her. He didn't know what to do, as Naruto was frustrated. He was tired of this war. He was going to end it, as he told Uncle that he'll be back. He was going to put an end to this war, as he made his way. Naruto found Killer Bee as two of them clashed violently, as Naruto was able to knock him down a massive explosion. As he brought Killer Bee in front of an army of Kumo ninjas, as he slammed him into the ground, and told them to go and get their Raikage, the fifth Hokage of Konoha, wanted to talk to him immediately. So yeah guys, so basically that's where we left off. You guys can switch across the page and check it out for yourself. So, what do you say begin this new episode? The attention in the air was thick and tense. No one dare make a move or do anything, as Naruto blade was itching at Killer Bee's neck, as they all waited there for the half hour for the messenger to make his way back to Kumo. While the messenger took a while to get there, the waiting time for him to come back was slow, as Naruto was the first to notice. Naruto picked Bee up and placed the humming blade right towards his neck. The Kumo Shinobis all took a step forward, thinking that he was going to start something. But it wasn't them. Naruto was looking about, as a bolt of lightning smashed into the clearing, blowing away many of them just by the force, as he had to cover their eyes. Namikaze, a voice roared out, as the Raikage glared at Naruto with great furious and killing intent. Raikage-dano, said Naruto, like if he wasn't holding the man brother at sword point, right at his throat, as he was just so calm. The only reason why the Raikage didn't do anything, as he was checking the math, whether he'd be able to cave in the right head skull and rescue his brother, or Naruto would slit his brother's throat. A was a prideful man, but he wasn't an idiot. He took a moment to rein in his facade, as he calmed himself. When he was no longer angry, his lightning dissipated from around him, as he stood up, his arms crossed. The only remaining displeasure was a vein on his forehead that was throbbing, as Naruto hadn't moved an inch. He just stood there, completely calm and stable. The Raikage was a truly impressive man, large in his stature, but Naruto wasn't intimidated. Here he was seeing the man, whose speed was even acknowledged by his father, and only in the decades he must become a lot stronger. But Naruto found himself excited, giddy a bit. So, I heard you had something you want to talk about, said A. A proposition if you would, to minimize casualties from this unnecessary war. I'm listening, said A, as he glanced towards his brother. That was because he had little choice. Me and you, one fight right here. The Raikage eyed one quirk, as Naruto could tell he caught the man's interest. I win. Kumo retreat. Back to their borders behind Shimonokuni immediately. No stalling, no question. Any Konoha prisoners will be returned. Anyone being killed since his invasion, there will be a recollection payment for each and every man. As Naruto had rehearsed this in his head a dozen of times, he had expected other things, outcries, laughed off like a lunatic. But what he didn't expect was a grin that spread over the Raikage's face. And if I were to take you up on this challenge, what will happen if I win? Kumo will keep any territory they have claimed till now. We will return all Kumo prisoners, and also the same recollection payment for casualties like I'm demanded. And I will guarantee no retaliation from Konoha for 5 years, said Naruto. As he could already hear the problem he was digging himself into. But he was going to win. Obviously, the terms were good enough to make the bulky man think about it. On what authority are you enforcing these terms? The Raikage said. That old man Sarutobi doesn't seem the type to broker a term like this. Ignoring this slight to his leader, he will pay for it very soon. As Naruto Namikaze, 5th Hokage of Konoha, said Naruto, there was a long pause of his full words as he sank into the clearing, everyone taking full notice. He knew what he said to the Shinobis when he first got here, but this was the first time that he meant it. He was a Hokage. He would be if he survived the stunt. And what's stopping me from crushing you the moment you take that sword away from my brother's neck? Well, I'm not gonna say words like honor, because we're Shinobis after all. But I've heard, at least, that you're a man who respects individual power. That's all I'm doing here, wagering my power against yours. Simple as that. A grunted, still looking amused. Some mano-a-mano stuff. As he inhaled deeply, glancing around his man. None of them seemed to have a clue what to do in this position. I suppose I could get behind that, but why should I accept? Even if I win. Personally, I can get more from this invasion if I press on. Your village is quite weak right now. They're stretched thin. As a hard look came in her eyes. Because Konoha, no matter how weakened, will burn you for every inch that you take. As the flow on his blade then vanished as he sheathed his blade. And Yurakage, as he motioned for one of the Kumo ninja to take me away. The man looked hesitant, but he went forward. And which means you care for every single one of your soldiers under your command, said Naruto. As Naruto knew that this was basically suicide in normal politics, as he just threw away his leverage. But this was shinobi politics. Deal, said the Raikage. They moved to a much more opening era in the Shimo Forest, where snow covered the ground. As they stood at opposite ends of the field, Kumo shinobis in the trees, not to contain the fight, they just want to see the spectacle. I fought your old man once, you know, said A, delighting the thing with a bit of conversation. Apparently, this match, he was ignoring the fact that Naruto held his brother as a hostage. I know, I read his journal, you and B, the lethal tag team. The Raikage seemed pleased as he shrugged his white robe, as he cracked his neck, jumping on his balls of his feet, like a boxer. Well, that's good. With you here, I can prove that I'm more than enough on my own. I hope you're as slippery as your whole man. There was no warning. 1 second, and the next, A was in front of Naruto, as a fist crackling with lightning was coming towards his face. And then Naruto exploded. Another exploding clone. But when the smoke cleared, A was still standing there, finishing the end of his sentence. Or, this will be over too quickly. As Naruto dropped down behind him, looking unfazed. You done? I thought we were fighting. As Naruto had planted the ground and snapped a kick towards A's head, that knocked his head back. A twisted his body and brought down his arm as Naruto twists as the mad punch shattered the ground. The both of them looked at each other for a moment. It's been a long time since someone tried to take me on in taijutsu, said A. And if all you have is speed and you try to use it as your advantage, this will be a quick trip in the ground for you. We'll see, said Naruto. The two of them then vanished. For the shinobis in the trees, it was like some kind of light show. Red and blue smashing into each other violently as sparks were everywhere. Trees were blown apart, the earth was singed. They were surprised that someone could match the speed of their Kage without even a technique. That was just raw speed. But in the real phase of thing, Naruto was fast, inhumanly fast. Might even be faster than his father, but he was still a human and he couldn't surpass certain limits with just raw speed. But A had his lightning armor, which gave him advantage, as it negated A's own nervous system, and also Naruto hits were buffered. But it's a good thing that Naruto wasn't solely depending on his body then. A dropped his fist as it was supposed to crush Naruto into the ground, but his hand passed through a red blur. In a moment, not even a second, just an instant, 3 clones appeared with 3 orbs. An agonizing scream went through the air as the Rasengan smashed into the chakra cloak. The Raikage could easily shift the strongest ear of the armor, seeing that was the main thing for the lariat, pushing more power to that part. But the real Naruto appeared as A was using lightning armor to block the 3 Rasengans. So when the real Naruto appeared using a Harushin tag that he placed in his clone, A had no chance as Naruto smashed the Rasengan right into his face. It drilled right through the lightning armor. Big ball Rasengan! As the Raikage was thrown back violently as it smashed into his cheek. As Naruto stood there, as A digged himself out of a deep trench, he shook his head as lightning armor was shimmering around him, as the electricity slapped in place. As A worked his jaw around. Good hit, I'll have to remember that one. Clearly not good enough, said Naruto. But I think I'm done going easy on you. Couldn't have said it better myself, kid, said the Raikage. Suddenly, thud filled the area as something was impenetrating wood. Thud, 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 thud. As A looked over as he knew that kunai, I was wondering if I ever see his technique again. I assure you. He dashed towards Naruto as he saw kunai flip right between them. So much like his damn father as Naruto flashed away. As A was focused on the kunai, I learned from my past, he kicked the kunai so hard it embedded into a tree. As Naruto reappeared, Rasengan in hand, he was disoriented, not expecting to be here. As A descended on him from above. Guillotine drop. Boom. For a second, the Raikage looked like he won, and the Kumo ninjas were about to cheer out loud. But when the smoke cleared, Naruto wasn't out for the count yet. Naruto's brain worked faster than others, as he had brought the Rasengan up, seeing that he failed to take the blunt of the attack. But the amount of lightning the Raikage poured into the attack, it destabilized the Rasengan and both of them got blasted back, as there was a twinge in his arm. He wasn't going to win a battle of strength with this man. He needed to start fighting with his head. A just seemed a bit disgruntled that his attack hadn't caved in Naruto's chest. Those are some reflexes, he said. I try, said Naruto as he rolled his shoulder. The moment his shoulder clicked, he vanished. As the Raikage eye looked around, furiously trying to find where he was going to show up. As Naruto appeared at the other end of the field. But it might as well be beside the Raikage because the man took seconds to get over there. He was expecting Naruto to flash away as he looked around, but he was surprisingly lariat actually connected with something. But the clone that he struck quickly popped. But instead of smoke, instead of explosion, there was a strange, sucking noise. A felt the pressure in his ears change That was all the warning he got before something shot him back with such force that he digged through another trench in the ground. As his lightning armor across his front of his chest, it was thin, just to a small pulse. He picked up himself, a wind clone. Smart. Vacuum clone actually, said Naruto. You might have been able to outrun the wind, and didn't want to waste a trick. Well, consider it wasted, said Raikage, as lightning armor fixed itself. It even got thicker. Naruto smirked while he was on the branch, as four more of him flashed into existence. As suddenly, Naruto was everywhere, flashing around. Kicks bounced off the man, and Naruto showed that his hand would break before he actually hurt the man. But A was so swarmy he could barely keep up. Only thing he was seeing was flashes around him every time he got close. They would flash away and flash back. A grew tired of this as he cracked up the lightning around him, as the thing exploded out violently like an explosion. As the four clones were destroyed, huge chunks were ripped out of the Raikage technique. As the real Naruto was sent sailing back, but he flipped and spin and landed on the ground. As he clutched at his side, he could tell that something was broken or bruised. A was looking much better though, as his lightning chakra was fluctuating around his body, as it just got a mixture of wind chakra. Naruto wasted no time as he flashed forward. As A moved forward, but four of the Hiraishin kunais, poof, as they were clones, as they grabbed the man's arms and legs and planted their feet in the ground. As Naruto hit the Raikage right in his chest, the Raikage ripped the clones off him as he dispelled. But Naruto jumped back, he did his job. That lightning armor of yours was really irritating, you know? As Naruto held up her arm still as the Raikage rushed forward, but the Raikage was frozen, mid-rush. 5 Hiraishin markers, 1 on his chest, 2 on his arms, and 2 on his legs. As Naruto finally got through the lightning armor, Namikaze style, 5-point seal. The Raikage was struggling against his bonds, the seals glowing, but Naruto pushed a lot of chakra into it and it only needed a moment. He held his hand as a Rasengan form. He then placed his hand over it as the thing started to screech as wind chakra started to be added. The thing spun like a giant Fuma shuriken, white wind blades, the Rasengan in the center. In a flash, Naruto was in front of him, releasing the explosive technique with an apologetic smile, as it only had a fraction of a second, as he released everything to his lightning armor that he could, as everything went white. That was all the shinobis around saw. As Naruto appeared on a tree, as he was forced to use that technique because most time he uses it, things don't end up surviving. It was a testament to the Raikage's strength that he managed to survive. Hell, he just learned how to use it without injuring himself in the process, as a Hiraishin got him to safety instantly, and it was like he could throw the damn thing. It took a few moments for the swirling vortex to die down, as everyone saw the massive hole into the ground, with the grooves in it like it was cratered out. But in the center of it all was a single figure, as he was crouching down. God, what does it take to put you down, said Naruto, as he flashed the edge of the crater and looked down at Raikage. He looked like he had seen better days. His pants were torn to shreds. One of his armed guards were gone, and the other one looked like it has been tackled by a bear. Cuts and scratches were all over the man's body as he was bleeding. As his legs were trembling, he was barely standing up, holding on to his consciousness. More than some light breeze, kid, he said. As Naruto made his way down the crater, A was on his last legs. A strong breeze might knock the man over, as Naruto was almost disappointed the fight had gotten his blood pumping, and he got the broken ribs to show for it. As the both of them looked at each other, an unspoken conversation going on, before Naruto raised his hand. Good fight. As he caught his fist in chakra, as A nodded, as Naruto struck it right in the man's face, as A collapsed down, unconscious. Shadow filled the entire area as the crater that he was in was surrounded by the Kumo shinobis. They didn't know what to do. Their leader was just in a duel with a foreign shinobi, who won. As Naruto straightened up as he felt something scraping his side, yeah, he was gonna need some medical attention. As Naruto flashed behind the Kumo ninjas, they raised their weapons. When he wakes up, tell him that I expect him to honor the deal. If he doesn't, I'll be back for round 2, said Naruto. Someone must be confident, as they spoke up. Can I book my seat in advance? As that reminded Naruto of Uncle. Sure, he said, as he vanished. All the ceiling tag on the 3-pronged kunai started to burn away. Time skip. Naruto grunted as Sakura tightened the bandage around his chest, tighter than necessary. That was the sight Hiruzen walked in on. If you're here to chew me out, Hokage-sama, I'm afraid that Naruto winked as Sakura pat him on the side. My cute little student. Already beat you to it. And rightly so, said Sakura, still glaring at her former sensei. Really, you have 2 broken ribs. severe bruises along your spine, electrical burns, and not to mention damage to chakra pathways in your hands. And the worst part is you won't tell me what did this to you. As Harrison just smiled at the scene. If you could give us a moment, Sakura. Sakura looked between the two of them as she made her way towards the door, grunting as she was still pissed off that Naruto didn't tell her what happened. She reminds me so much of my former students Nadi, and they haven't met yet. Should we warn the birds everywhere, said Naruto. Maybe later, said Harrison. I know what you're going to say. It was a reckless, stupid, dangerous plan that could have backfired badly. I was listening to my emotions instead of my head, and I put hundreds of lives in danger. Harrison walked over and sat down. Yes, you did all of those things. But the important question is, would you do it again? As the both of their eyes met. Yes, I would, he said. As Harrison smiled. Good. Naruto was confused. Naruto, how many lives do you think I weigh on a daily basis? How many decisions do you think I made that could send good men and women to their deaths? What you did today, though brash, and I prefer that you come to me beforehand, save hundreds, probably thousands of lives. I am not saying that it's the correct choice, or a good one. That's a dangerous opinion to have of yourself. As he sighs, he leaned back in his chair. The point I'm trying to make as Hokage, you will be forced to make some difficult decisions. It's whether if you can live with those decisions will define the kind of Hokage you become. Now, come along. I still need to give you a proper dressing down for acting like a rebellious teenager. But first, we need to run damage control. No one can know that you acted uniquely on this. The paperwork. No, actually, you can handle paperwork. Consider it training, he said a smile, for your new job. Naruto dread at the stacks of paper. But I suppose this can wait till the morning. As I hear, you are the cause for a celebration. How did you know, said Naruto. Hiruzen tapped the side of his nose. An old man needs his secrets. And Naruto, congratulations, he said. As Naruto smiled at him. As he hopped through the window. Time skip as Naruto made his way home. As he saw Anko on the couch. Seemed that she waited for him. As he picked her up. She hated when he flashed around the house with her. He made her nauseous doing that. But his efforts of sneaking around was for naught. As she stirred. Hey you. You were gone for a while. I came back though, he said. As Uncle just looked at him. She lifted her head as she gave him a kiss. You always do, she said. There was something I need to do, he said. You get it done? I hope so, he said. Good. Don't like it when you're gone, she said. Me neither, he said, a smile. Can you believe we're going to be parents? She suddenly said as he moved into her room. Me and you. Believe it, he said, a chuckle. Ecstatic about it. Absolutely, he said. I love you, she said. As Naruto placed her on the bed as she kissed him, still looking half awake. As he realized something. As she lied there. It's something he thought about a lot of times. But just then, at this moment. Marry me. Sure, she said, with a small chuckle. No, really. Marry me, he said. Her eyes snapped open as she saw the way he was looking at her. Are you serious? Never more so in my life. I did a lot today, and I realized, just reminded me that life is short for Shinobi. Shorter. And I love you, he said. I could never imagine myself not loving you. As he pulled her close. So, marry me. This isn't because, as he looked down to her stomach. No. This, as he tickled her belly, as he squirmed his grip. It's because I love you. And this, as he kissed her. It's because I love you, he said. I'm asking you to marry me because I want to marry you. I don't need another reason, he said. As he heard sniffles as she buried her head into his neck. Yeah, she said. So where's my ring? As Naruto placed a hand to his chin. As he held on to her hand. As he put his hand around it. As a Harrison mark went around her ring finger. I will come up with something better. But how's that for... He couldn't get to finish his sentence as she kissed him. As she leaned on him, he winced. Uncle dressed back. So, what have you been up to all day? Time skip. As Kakashi was sitting on the Hokage's couch. He was looking at Naruto. So, let me get this straight. You fought a Kage. You won. And you stopped a potential war. You got engaged to your longtime girlfriend. And she's pregnant. And you get put in the doghouse. All of this in the same day. Same evening, actually. Kakashi whistled. Damn. You do work fast, don't you? As Naruto looked at the man. Don't you have missions, training or something? Kakashi put his hands up in surrender. I mean, if you insist. Hokage-sama. Don't call me that, said Naruto. It's not official yet. As good as I am afraid, my boy, Hiruzen said, walking into the room. Your actions yesterday have spread remarkably fast. I believe the Hyugas are rather upset though, for you to end the war without too much Kumo blood not being spilled. As he looked at Naruto, no Shadowclones today. What's the point, Naruto said. It's not like I have anywhere to be in a hurry. Uncle will hold his grudge for a few days, so might as well give it my all. As he looked at the paper, my full attention, he said, as he gulped. Hiruzen sank into another chair, spoken like a true Hokage, as Naruto's head slammed on the table. Not you too. Come with the turtle, my boy, said Hiruzen with a smirk. As Naruto lifted his head back up, a paper was stick to it. As he pulled it off, reports about the hidden stone moving. The stone was mobilizing. What do you make of these, Naruto says? He passed a report over towards the old man. Of the hidden stone ninjas being spotted in the Heinokun border. I suspected something like this, but I thought Onki would live up to his title and be a bit more cautious. As he placed the report back in the pile, as he made his way and looked through the window, I think as my old rival grew older, younger voices started to get more sway in the hidden stone. As he took a puff from his pipe and blew out smoke, the grudges from the old war run deep. Many lost father, mother, wife, and husbands. They smelled the blood in the water, while I had hoped that Kumo retreat would stem any sort of action from them. It seems I was wrong. If, Oniki, sway our invasion, it will take more than a duel to push back that tide. As Naruto got another report, the stone wasn't even hiding their intentions. They were banking on Konoha being stretched so thin. It will be easy for them to bypass the hidden rain region and come around. And to redraw their forces to block that could leave for a counterattack from Orochimaru. Even though Taki has drawn back ever since the capture of their Jinjuke, they didn't see them on much friendly terms. After all, they had taken away their Jinjuke, and they were still at war, and that would leave for a counterattack from Orochimaru. Konoha was running short on men and on friends. After the invasion with San, they were thin at best. And also, the other villages had made their intention known, the smaller villages. And Kiri, despite their re-emerge into the world, no one really knew what their intentions were. For all Naruto knew, they will be the next trying to take a bite out of Fire Country. You have some time to think on this, Naruto, said Hiruzen. Oniki is slow to make decisions. And if he's gonna make a troop, a grown on the battlefield, it will take a while. And there is only one straight way. And there is no love between the stone and the grass. So, you'll have to go through a lot first. That is if the grass doesn't turn around and reinforce their invasion, said Naruto, with the hidden stone. Naruto saw a cold-looking Hiruzen's eyes. Then we made them pay tenfold. As he walked over to the map tape that Naruto restored, with some new things on it, it was greatly easy to update. The stone is not the mostly secure country, relying on a great food import from the land of stone, fangs, and bird, and the valleys to the south. In any prolonged war, the stone know that we will cut that supply off by any means necessary. The village itself can survive, but only by taxing food from the surrounding countries. But eventually, the Earth Daimyo would intervene and veto the war the moment it becomes too costly for the country. And Oniki knew a protracted war with Konoha, when we were more than capable enough to feed ourselves, would be ill-advised. He would put everything to his first strike to try and gouge out a large piece of our land, to use that to grow food and for further actions. If we rebuff that offense, Onki will be forced to back off. Naruto frowned. Konoha was already weak, and the stone will have the first move. That will be costly. Hiruzen nodded sadly, as all wars certainly are, he said. There must be another way, said Naruto. Maybe a counter-advantage, or something else. I wouldn't worry yourself too much on it, my boy. I am stubborn to pick up the slack, said Hiruzen. As I understand, we are going to be busy in the upcoming months. I would take the time to see the peace as you still can. Naruto nodded, not sure how he could slack off now at all times. I'll try. Hiruzen sighed. He knew what Naruto was thinking. He was in the same position before. He glanced up, knowing that Kakashi had left. Talk about the hidden stone. War with them must have been uncomfortable, seeing what he lost in the last war. We will think of something, Fifokage, said Hiruzen, as he saw a small smile on Naruto's lips. Time skip. Naruto didn't know why, that his feet made his way towards the Uchiha compound that night before going home. Well, Uncle was still probably pissed. But he used to come here, before Shisui died. Before Itachi... He shook his head. He used to come here when he has problems. Because he had Shisui there. Even Itachi to talk to. He could work off frustration with the good spars, and talk of his problems. He didn't share everything with Uncle back then, Some things had to stay between guys. Nowadays, he couldn't recall the last time he has been here. As the old sturdy gate was there, it used to be always up and locked. And you had to knock before Uchiha come and open it. But now, the place was empty. The place was buzzing always before, with shops open, kids, mothers with their children. Despite knowing that, his feet just made his way, as he still had the memory. Yes, as he made his way towards the head house, as he knocked. A small part of his mind hoped no one answered the door. He didn't even heard footsteps on the other side. But the door slowly cracked open. Oh, hey. He cursed himself internally at the wrong greeting. But it didn't matter because she smiled. Mikoto gave him a soft smile. Oh, Naruto-kun. What an unexpected pleasure, she said. Yeah, I'm sorry for not coming around before. I suppose... No. I really don't have an excuse. I guess I've been avoiding this, he said. She smiled sadly. We all deal with tragedy in our own ways. She brightened up slightly as she stepped aside. What's important is that you're here. I assume that you came for Sasuke. He's in his room. Sasuke's been rather upset since coming back from his last mission. I think he's beating himself up for what happened. Naruto was inclined. As he read the report, he had read the report about that mission, and he was more inclined to blame the Hyuga heir. But that was just protectiveness over his students. No one was to real blame over what happened, and he knew that Sasuke did the best he could, given the situation. I'll talk to him, said Naruto. Mikoto smiled fondly. As she smiled, I remember you saying the same thing with it. As she stopping herself. She glanced towards a photo with herself, Itachi, Fukaku. As Sasuke was there, as she was holding him as he was much smaller. She smiled at it. You were always such a good friend to him, and I want to thank you, she said. You don't have to thank me for that. Itachi was much of a friend as I was to him. For as long as it lasted, he said. No, not for that. I could see how the three of you were happy together at first, with that girl Uncle. I heard you're engaged. Congratulations, she said. As Naruto returned her smile. News. Real does travel fast in his village, he said. Well, she knows go on missions and wife gossip. It's the way of things. But no, I want to thank you for everything you've done for Sasuke. We were both in a very dark place after the incident. I tried my best to be there for him, but I was grieving myself for the longest time. When I finally felt ready, and I wanted to be there, to be the mother there, I felt I was too late. He was going down a dark road. I thought I might have lost both my sons at night, and no matter how hard I tried to be there for him, I thought I let him get away with too much, that I wasn't there enough for him. That was until you, she said. Naruto was cut off by her. It must have been a month or something. Oh yeah. After that mission to Nami, he came back, and surprisingly, he sat at the table and talked to me about his day. He couldn't stop talking about how surprised the mission was, and how fun it was to his teammates, and being there with his sensei. Not because he wanted to kill his brother. It was because he found you to look up to. In some way, I got my son back that day, she said, as tears were starting to form in her eyes. I don't know if it was you, his teammates, or all of you, but I just want to thank you all the same, she said, as she moved forward and hugged him. As Naruto felt tears in his eyes as well, despite how many time passed or whatever, as he felt reminded of when his mother used to hug him, as she stepped back with a smile. Always happy to help, he said. She nodded as she patted him gently on the cheek. You haven't changed at all, have you? Well, I like to think I got more handsome, he said, as she gave him a small laugh. Well, I can't say that you didn't get your father's look, she said, as she gave him a smile. They then heard footsteps. Sensei? What are you doing here, said Sasuke. I'll just leave you to it then. I'll make some tea if you're staying, she said. Not for long, he said. This was sort of a spur of the moment thing, and I need to get back to Uncle. Mikoto nodded as she walked out. Sensei, if this is about Ami, Naruto cut him off. Actually, no. I understand you did everything you could. Those Kumonins were more experienced. You were outclassed, outnumbered. But I shouldn't have been, Sasuke said, cutting him off. We should have never do that. I should have retreated the moment he not have spotted something. We never should have taken a look. I should have taken the both of them and just retreated back. I was the team leader. I should have... He stopped as Naruto placed a hand on his shoulder. Sasuke, you can't beat yourself up over this. Being in a position of command, things doesn't go all the way you want it. Sometimes, no matter how we wish it would go one way, sometimes it changed. Things wouldn't have if you were there instead of me. That hit Naruto a bit hard. even though Sasuke was trying to say it in a way to say he was stronger than him, but it made Naruto felt pain. I'm not strong enough. Not for Itachi, and not for Ami. Like I said, you can't think like that. Besides, it's not that we give up on Ami, she's strong. You and I know that best. Sasuke smiled slightly, she really surprised me. All through the academy, she was always dead last in everything. One of those girls I didn't expect to make past the first year, just retiring to become a normal civilian. But she clubbed on, even make it to my team. I thought that she would be a dead weight there, and it made me a bit frustrated when you said that you would treat us all like equal. The idea that you could bring up to my level. But then she grew so quickly, catching up to me so fast. I felt threatened, Sasuke said, a smile on his face. Threatened by dead laughs, he said. He looked up at Naruto. How did you do that? How did you see that potential? Naruto chuckled as he motioned for Sasuke to follow him outside. You say that like I have some special gift or something. There is specialty in everyone, Sasuke. Some things that people are good at, that most people aren't. Think of soccer. There will be no day that you can catch up to her medical skills. It was unique for her. So what? It's just about seeing the best in everyone? What if it isn't there? Asked Sasuke. Sasuke, I didn't come here to discuss your brother. You know that kind of thought leads nowhere, said Naruto. That reminds Sasuke of what he said before. Why exactly did you come here? I thought this place had bad memory for you too. As Naruto hadn't been here since the forming of their team. As Naruto looked over to a shop. As the man there used to sell Shisui and him fireworks sometime. There are good memories here as well, he said. Well, said Naruto, the reason I came here is... I don't have a lot of guy friends. Kakashi was my captain, and Tento was my subordinate. And also, I don't really know Aizuma, or Genma. Kinda missed that chance in Anvu, Sensei, rambling. Well, yeah. I don't know if you heard, but I asked Uncle to marry me. And it's funny. As Sasuke nodded, I always imagined that Shisui and Itachi would be there for me when they come. And, well, obviously. He said a slump. God, I'm bad at this, he said, rubbing the bridge of his nose. Are you asking me to be your best man? Sasuke asked, eyes wide. Well, yeah, not that you're some replacement for your brother. I don't mean that at all. You know what? I'll just shut up now, he said. Why me? Asked Sasuke. Because you're my precious student, and I want you to be there for me. Just think about it. Suddenly, Anvu dropped into the clan compound. Teiko, news from the hospital. Go on, said Naruto. It's your student, sir. She's back. Naruto, and Sasuke's eyes went wide. Do it. As Naruto placed a hand on Sasuke's shoulder, as the both of them vanished. After a few hours, Sakura cleared Ami to be debriefed. As her teammates, her sister, and the third was there. And Naruto, obviously. She was confused when she came through the gate, sprinting back to Konoha. She couldn't tell anyone why. She didn't know why, she just had an urge to get back to Konoha. She had loosened her bandages, running back here. And Sakura was keeping her here, just to make sure that she was okay. As she told them everything to the moment when she jumped off the cliff. And then, nothing. Everything was just messed up. After jumping from the cliff, they were vague and images, but the only thing she remembered was being at the gates after that. As Sakura pointed out that the bandage were not the standard issue for Chunin teams, that means someone had taken care of her, but she didn't know who or what happened. As Naruto and Hiruzen saw the signs, it pointed to a powerful genjutsu, or external influence. But if this was another village, Kumo, why would they simply return Ami to Konoha? Was it a deal with the Raikage? But why genjutsu then? Hiruzen thanked the girl, as he left with a troubled look. As Ami was not in a position to hold another conversation, well, so Sasuke left. But he surprised everyone. He walked up to her and hugged her as he left. As Sakura left as well to give her some rest. As Naruto was about to leave to let Ami and Yujiro talk, but Ami croaked up from the bed. I did as you trained me, Sensei, didn't I? He came over and ruffled her hair gently. Yeah, you did, amazingly. More than I could even ask. She gave a tired smile. There was a motion to the hallway as Uncle burst inside, with Haya as well. As Naruto had to cover Uncle's mouth, as she wanted to shout something as she muffled it, as Haya jumped off Uncle's shoulder and landed right on the bed. Is Ami Nichan okay? As Ami was trying to stay awake at this point, as the medicine was putting her to sleep. Nothing some rest can fix, she said, as Ami motioned for Haya to come forward. Haya did, as she came up as Ami held on to her. Wrapping her arms, she ended up falling asleep. Strong kid, said Uncle. Yeah, she is, said Naruto with a smile. She'll be just fine, said Yujiro, as all three adults settled down in the room. As the two girls slept right there, as Haya ended up falling asleep as well. Time skip, as Naruto went through the report. As he placed it back down. It doesn't matter how time I look through this. They doesn't make sense. As Hiruzen nodded, he was lending whatever aid he could. The war, with the hidden stone on the horizon. I admit, this is rather unusual. Certainly not ways that Onki handled things, I agreed. You think there's been a shift in leadership? Maybe. Response to me, said Naruto. As Naruto looked over the map, as you could see the markings of a shinobi, he gave scrolls to many of the teams. So, if they need reinforcement, they could push chakra in the scrolls and it would glow red on the map. Genius, if he must say to himself. He was hoping to change it to the Fuinjutsu symbol, so they can send that message right towards the board. Onki is too stubborn for that, and our spies in the village hasn't alerted us about anything of that, said Hiruzen. No, I think the Tsuchikage will do his best to take that hat to his grave. Then I can't make sense of it, said Naruto. What had them so confused was the squads of stone shinobis pulling back their village. This wouldn't be so unusual, just a sign that the Tsuchikage had decided not to go through with his plans. The problem was there had already been a few skirmishes, and when Oniki do a thing, he never second-guessed himself, from what Hiruzen saw from the history of the man. And there was one messenger, it seems like, because if there was a withdrawal, he would have called back everyone one time. But it seems like only one messenger was going around, calling back for a withdrawal. It was almost like the squads of each group decided to just abandon their posts, as they couldn't see any pattern with the squad just pulling out. There was no formal withdrawal for them all to come back, just one by one. Strange. I fear that we will not understand our return in luck, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't take advantage of it, my boy. As Naruto agreed, him and Hiruzen already made a plan, and by the time he got everything in place, they were going to end this war. Taki was already crippled by them losing Jinchuriki, and as long as Konoha kept up a firm hold in the border, they would retreat and isolate back. The grass, on the other hand, posed a more threatening ensemble, because they couldn't launch an attack on the village because the stone would take over the entire position, because if they passed through there with the war. Instead, they planned to destroy one of the major transport routes between the countries. Once that was done, there would be only one tightly route, way out of the country. This would also serve to bottle up the hidden stone if this was a ploy of them just playing a trick on them, showing that they were retreating. The idea was for them to be distracted so long, so that Konoha could launch an attack on the hidden stone, as orders to capture if possible, but do not go out of the way to capture. Orochimaru will regret starting this uprising, as Hiruzen looked unsympathetic, as they marked their plan to surround the village and attack. And strangely enough, all this was made possible by Teiwaya. Yes, because the information that she volunteered. A few days after Naruto had left, after speaking with her, she, without struggle, gave up information, rather sensitive information, everything she knew about Orochimaru and the shinobis on his sides, for swapping protection. Naruto was sure if it was because of what he said, or she simply didn't believe in Orochimaru, like the other brainwashed shinobis did. A few Anbu parties scouting had found out everything she was saying was true. And for the mark on her neck, Naruto was easily able to remove it. After all, he has been studying ever since he removed Uncle Seal. He didn't even need Hana to do it. As Teiwaya was currently in the hospital, yes, after removing Seal, it was like drug withdrawal. But she'll be fine in a couple of days. After a bit more discussing, a knock came on the door as Ami walked in without waiting for a response. As Naruto smiled, as he forgot that he'd given his Jennings an open door policy, but he supposed that she was abusing it, as she had a cheeky smile on her face. Sensei, you said that you'll be training us today, she said. She knew that technically, Naruto wasn't her sensei anymore, but there was something of Hokage's keeping their old team for a while longer. Tobirama kept his up to a war, and the Sanis never really stopped being Hiruzen students, and Kakashi still only thought of one man as the teacher. I don't remember saying anything like that, and you're supposed to be on leave. Yeah, you did, she said. And I asked you if you'll train us yesterday, and you said don't worry about it, you remember? Well, but at the moment I'm kind of busy. Oh please, by all means, said Hiruzen. At the moment nothing should be happening for a few hours here. Enjoy some time with your students, as Ami smiled at him as she gave him the puppy dog eyes. Well, how am I supposed to argue with that, he said. See you at the training ground, she said, as she rushed off. As it was a joke for them because they know that Naruto always beat them there. Naruto, as Hiruzen placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder, be careful. Naruto was confused. I know you went through a scare with young Ami, but don't allow yourself to become too overprotective. She's your student, but she's still a shinobi of the village. As he released Naruto those cryptic words, as he returned back to the board, Naruto flashed to the training ground. Something stuck in his mind. He wasn't calling his students, was he? He understood that the time would come when they wouldn't need him anymore, when they were strong to protect themselves on their own. But that time hasn't come yet. Until that time, he do everything he can to make sure they survive that long. As Naruto tilted his head just in time, Sasuke twists his body as though expecting her to dodge, as he launched a hail of kunai towards him, as Naruto dodged each and every one of them, as Ami burst from his shadows as she came at him with her blade. There was no way she beat him here, so the Ami at the Hokage's tower was a clone. Now, when Uncle went and taught her that, but he smiled, they had been planning this ambush from the beginning. That was good. That meant at any moment, yes, he felt it, as Sasuke came at him, but he turned a lot to the left, knowing that a slight Genjutsu vision was trying to put him off. Sasuke flipped back as he speed through hand signs. Breathing out a fireball, Ami was about to swing her blade, as Naruto stepped on a kunai and flipped it up, as Ami blade was covered in wind as she was about to release in the fireball, but Naruto kicked the kunai and knocked her point off course, as it slashed to a tree that he assumed Sakura was hiding in, as he casually stepped away from the roaring ball of flame. As Sakura jumped off the tree as he pulsed his chakra twice to be sure she could be a tricky one, as Sasuke and Ami then changed positions, but then suddenly a pair of hands grasped his ankles, trying to pull him right in the ground. They got him down to his shins before he pulsed his chakra, disrupting her technique. Ami then rushed towards him, as Naruto saw something as he pulsed his chakra again. She didn't have her blade, something was streaking towards him. Sasuke was getting better with his creation, with its elemental manipulation, and Sakura triple layer Genjutsu. Impressive. As Naruto reversed the thing and sank into the ground. But apparently they planned for that as well, as Naruto saw explosive tag already going off. Anko had to really stop telling Anko all these insider secrets. It was really ruining his training mystique, as he slipped out of the ground as it detonated. But that wasn't the trick. Sasuke was right beside him, his hand covered in flames. Ami was to his nether side, sword to his neck. But at the last moment, Sakura swapped the directions on him. He was about to flash towards the kunai that they set up when he first came here, but he couldn't feel the connection as he saw Sakura as he was holding up the kunai, as she had ripped it away. That girl was getting scary. But Naruto flashed away to the kunai that he hid under earth. Yes, he was still smarter, as Naruto held up his hands and he reappeared a few feet away. Come now, I couldn't just let you guys win that easily. After all, as the ground exploded, as 20 tags were underneath the ground. Ami watched a hint of worry. You don't think it was too much, do you? She asked. Sasuke grunted as Sakura landed. It was her job to place the kunais and the tags where she thought her sensei might appear, so to be on her head if he got injured. But when the dust settled, they saw another cloud of smoke inside. Just a clone, Sasuke muttered, as his Sharingan looked around for any sign of their teacher. You, said a voice as he turned, as Naruto was sitting in the tree. Well, no, I'm starting to think I trained you guys too well, he said. That was mean and sneaky, even by Anko standards. Still only managed to get your clone though, said Sasuke. More than most can say, said Naruto. Your teamwork is excellent though, even after so long apart. As he looked at Sakura, your Genjutsu are superb. But you could have left, disoriented. A little later, if you wanted, Sasuke maneuvered to catch me off guard. As he turned to Sasuke, the trick with the fire is neat, but when you're trying to be stealthy, it gives away your position. I could feel the heat even through the Genjutsu. Finally, he turned to Ami. You're too cautious to engage. Some of those open shots could have tricked me a bit further. A combined assault from you and Sasuke could have seriously got to me. Now, he said a smirk. I believe I was called for some training. Time skip. As Naruto stroked Haya's hair, as she had fallen asleep after Naruto was just reading dozens boring pieces of papers. The war was over, or as good as. The operation was a success, mostly. Kakashi had given the snake a good run around, but Orochimaru was a clever man as he realized he was being played. Orochimaru got back too late. The attack was vicious and ruthless, as the walls were teared down. Many of the people there now found their homes inside of the Anvu bases. A good quarter of the village was in ruins, as Orochimaru came back to that destruction and dust. There had been casualties during the retreat, especially when Orochimaru arrived on scene, but few of the braver Jonin held him off long enough to get the operatives out of there. Apparently, there was a new store to post by the Green Beast of Konoha, but the important thing was a message was sent to the minor villages. Do not piss off Konoha. Taki had retreated on themselves. They were cowering, waiting for Konoha to send up diplomats so they could talk. The grass was trickier, but they realized any further attacks would cause vicious re-attacks. Aside from the negotiations, which he was leaving the heroes in for now, the man was better at the politic things than him. It was no time for a clean-up. Konoha might have won, but there was a lot of injuries. Konoha was overstacked with patients, with shinobis who never might be able to fight again, as he knew from Yakushi Sensei, the current head medic, and Sakura first hand accounts. Team 7 now met up every other day to train, talk and catch up. Ami was grounded from missions as he recovered, with the occasional visit to Yamanaka clan to try and recover those lost memories. Sasuke was not taking missions until she did, throwing himself into some kind of secret training. As Naruto knew they were all getting frustrated though by the, well, lack of anything going on. But knowing that this mess was winding down, he had something for all of them to do. The assault had showed them a weakness. Currently, Konoha had a few strong counters. Jiraiya was around the world. Its reports coming in handy as it saved many lives, especially the Anfu's. But the worst part was medical attention. As Naruto decided that the world best medic has been given enough time to mope around and drink as much as she want, it was time that she come back to the village. And he definitely wouldn't be asking. Time skip as Naruto saw his old team waiting for him at the gate. It seemed like just back then, with their C-Ramp mission when they were first leaving. Well, now they were all older. With both the girls started growing into their bodies, the red slip of a dress that had looked so ridiculous on Ami when Anko was first trying to boost her confidence was now showing off some developing curves. Sakura looked every bit the medic she was trained to be, with her hair tied up in a ponytail, as she was wearing shorts and a pack that was strapped to her waist, as Sasuke kept the Uchiha style, as he no longer looked like a kid playing dress up, trying to emulate the adults playing around him. No, he looked the part, and he also had a blade as well. He wouldn't match Ami's sword skills, but with his Sharingan and his reflexes, he would be up there. As Hiruzen hadn't been too vocal about it, but he allowed Tsunade to wander around for so long. As Naruto trusted the village to run under Hiruzen's steady hand, even though its inauguration was a few days ago. But he trusted Hiruzen to run everything for the few weeks that he might be gone for. Besides, he didn't trust anyone else to bring Tsunade back. It was not that he didn't trust his ninjas, it was Tsunade that he did not trust. She didn't take kindly to unwanted news. After a war, he couldn't afford a few Anbu limping back to the village with broken bones. Hey Sensei, said Ami. Oh, sorry, she said. Good morning, Hokage-sama. As Sakura slapped her arm at teasing, but even Sakura is smiling. You know, I technically have the power to demote you now. As Ami's eyes widened, it was good to see that Uncle hadn't got everything into the girl. Oh, well, since very Hokage, she said. Her two teammates looked at her. Very Hokage, Sasuke said. As Sakura giggled a bit, and might I add, the sky looked very eerie today, doesn't it, Sasuke? As Sasuke nodded, and Konoha looked a bit city. As Ami blew out of her nose. As Naruto looked at himself, he still didn't like how he was looking, even though Anko insisted. Flashback. What's wrong the way I look, Naruto asked, as he glanced at his clothes. The Jonin jacket improved a whole lot more than it's used to. Lightweight pants and sleeveless vest allow him full mobility. Simple arm guards, and also fingerless gloves, and his boots. And his headband was now on his forehead once again. He had thought about getting his father Hiyori something like that made, but he wasn't a clone of his father, even though the coat was really awesome. Nothing, it just makes you look rugged. And I must say, I like it, she said. But, you look too much like a Jonin. I am a Jonin, he said as he pressed on the jacket. No, you're the Hokage. Which is why, as she reached under the bed, taking some of the secret panel that Naruto knew about, but ignored for her privacy. I got you this, as she handed him a box with a bright smile. As he eyed it, gift from Uncle would be, well, good and bad. But she wouldn't prank him now, would she? He opened the box, as he thought it was a shirt, but it was a Hiyori. It wasn't as long as his father, and the sleeves were longer, and it was a same color as Hokage's hat. It has more pockets than even you can use. I made sure to give the specification to the guy. You know, seals and all for the pockets. It's made out of the same material for the Anbu uniform, so it won't tear easily. But I got a couple spares, so when you do tear it. I mean, I know you didn't want people thinking that you're copying your dad, but it's different enough. And it's also good to honor him, she said. He thought it was the most adorable thing in the world when she rambled, as he put her out of her suffering by kissing her. I love it, he said. As he removed his slap jacket and put it on, it was rather, well, perfect fit. As he gave him a distinguished look, he supposed that was good for Hokage. Well, of course you do, she said. I picked it out after all. Now, where's my thanks, she said. He didn't wait to hear her for long that night, but waked up next morning and find it right next to his father's. The word legacy couldn't help but spring to mind. In the flashback, as Naruto smiled to himself. Well, it was time that he got Tsunade, and he wouldn't be taking a no and just leaving. Oh, she would be coming back with him, whether she liked it or not. But guys, it'll be in subscribe right here. If you want to see the next part, there's to do. Like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on bell notifications they posted. Remember, share to all of your friends in social media platform. And also guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto Had a New Dream that will change everything over an anime king 2, guys. And remember, if you're new, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the anime king family. And thank you for all of your help and support. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. I'll be planning talking about all of you. So yeah, without further ado, I'm out for now. See you guys soon. Peace.